వాళ్ళ వైఫై సిస్టమ్స్ కావచ్చు, వాళ్ళ కాస్టింగ్ మెథడ్స్ కావచ్చు, చాలా హై ఉన్నాయి.
That's a very interesting question. Okay, most of the places around the world, even if your phone is locked, even if you don't have a SIM card, you can still dial it. Doctor can see what is inside the stomach. That is replaced now with a capsule. You have to write thousands and maybe millions of lines of code which goes into the proper working of a small device.
So are these electric cars safe?
Yes, electric cars are.
So Internet of Things is booming all over the world.
If I walk in, I like yellow light. Okay, somebody else walks in, he likes a white light. We were not able to write the software for exactly behaving like our brain.
So is it safe to keep a lot of information in your phone is another question.
I mean, the only safe password, Apple's pricing is largely based on demand. Okay, I mean, there's so much demand for iPhones that on the day a new phone is announced,
Say for example in the next 5 years, so what is the position of India? Like what are the new technologies that India is going to get? Hi, hello, welcome to another episode of Deep Dialog. Today we have a special guest with us who has 35 years of experience in electronic industry and who is a member of TIE Hyderabad and which serves for many startup companies, and he also served for many electronic companies in India. So welcome to the show, and Venkatesh garu, how are you doing?
yeah, I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me on your show.
Absolutely. So you have got a lot of insight towards the semiconductor industry and electronic industry. So tell me about something, sir. What is happening with the current scenario with this electronic industry?
Yeah. Okay. So electronics, has been powered by semiconductors for a long time. A long time back, you would see radio sets which are so big. Now the same radio set is in this size. So semiconductors is what has made electronics more pervasive. It has become more common. But like a few years back, we heard that there's a lot of shortage of semiconductors. Suddenly, we have started consuming more electronics. Every house has got so many gadgets. Every person is carrying so many gadgets, his watch, his Bluetooth speaker, his phone, all the time, 24/7, we have electronics. So it all requires semiconductors. So suddenly there was a big shortage. Now the funny thing is that the people are asking, so if there is a shortage, why don't you make more? Then the answer was that to make more semiconductors, we need some special equipment, that is sophisticated equipment that is not there. Then why don't you make sophisticated equipment? Why can't you make those so that you can make more semiconductors? Now to make those equipment, we need more semiconductors. So there was a shortage of semiconductors. That's why we could not make manufacturing equipment fast enough. And because there was no manufacturing equipment growing, we could not make more semiconductors. So it was in that kind of a situation. Thankfully, now we are out of it. Semiconductor manufacturing is going on track. People are getting their gadgets and cars in time.
Yeah, exactly. In COVID situations, like everything is stopped, everything affected COVID.
Yes.
So how these semiconductors are affected, and as you told already, so all the gadgets have been in shortage because in this COVID situations. So do you think now everything is up and running, and did we come over from all those bad times?
Yes. So in fact, actually the industry is cyclical. Because there was a demand, many factories came up. Their amount of semiconductors being manufactured has gone up tremendously. So it goes up and down. Now the supply is higher than demand right now. So semiconductors industries are facing a little bit of a slowdown in their sales because they started making so much, but the demand did not pick up as much as it is. So it is cyclical, and we are in that cycle. Semiconductor sales are a little bit down. Electronics as a whole is pretty good. There are certain classes of semiconductors which are doing very well, but it's up and down. So it will keep happening up and down.
So previously you have mentioned about some radio frequencies. So I have a question on that. So recently, or not recently, like all the time, so many people have many emergencies, and definitely we have to have a special frequency where we can reach out to police or doctors in emergency situations. Can you give some insights about that special frequency, or how it will be able to be in use?
Yeah. So the frequency spectrum is there. It's a natural thing, and that spectrum is like land. Okay, I mean there's only so much land. Similarly, there's only so much frequency that is allocated by the government and different governments of all countries for different purposes. For example, we listen to FM radio, that is allocated 88 megahertz to 108 megahertz. So we have channels like 101.9, 104, and so on. So those channels are allocated, that frequency is allocated by the government for FM radio only. Then you have military communication, aircraft communication from 120 to 400 megahertz, where the pilots can talk, asking for permission, and so on. Okay, and similarly, there is radar for finding out what is the weather, finding out other things. Everything has its own frequency. Now, when many years ago, maybe about 25 or more than 25 years ago, people thought, okay, why should only police and why should only the military be able to talk wirelessly? Rest of the folks, okay, we all had to dial using a telephone to talk. So why can't everybody use a wireless communication method? So then they started giving some spectrum for a specific purpose of personal communication. That became cellular communication. And then as soon as the government did that, they found out that there's a lot of commercial value to it. So demand for that spectrum grew and grew. That spectrum cannot increase. You cannot make land, you cannot make new spectrum. Spectrum is very much restricted. But technology has changed so that using the same spectrum, you can do more. Where we used to get about 50, 60 kilobits per second internet on your 2G phone, and now in 5G phone, you're getting 1 gigabit per second. Okay, I mean, thousands and thousands of times faster in the same spectrum because technology has improved. Now, when technology has improved, it also becomes a little bit more reliable. Okay, earlier we used to have cell phone drops, okay, not able to connect. Now, almost everywhere coverage is there. So, the cellular phone industry has also contributed to emergency responses. Okay, most of the places around the world, even if your phone is locked, even if you don't have a SIM card, you can still dial emergency services. So that hopefully addresses a lot of this concern about how can we reach out in an emergency.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned in the military, so how these things really affect in defense?
Yeah, defense actually, because when you are at a war-like situation, you are not fixed in any one place. You have to keep moving. You have to keep moving for two reasons: either to attack or to evade attack. Exactly. If somebody is trying to, bomb you, somebody is trying to get at you. So in the battlefield, you need wireless communication. Similarly, the military, even if it is the army, takes a lot of help from the aircraft. The aircraft go there, they do surveillance, they can bomb a certain place and everything. And aircraft has no wire, you have to talk to them. So wireless is important. So that wireless is dedicated. I mean, it's not like a connection is there or not there, that frequency is dedicated for that. So the military runs a lot. And there, because it is war, it's war on all fronts. There is war on radio communication also. Where we are trying to communicate, the enemy will try to jam that. In that same channel, they will broadcast noise and rubbish so that we can't hear each other. So techniques have started where you can do anti-jam measures. Okay, we were working on this a long time back in some techniques called direct sequence spread spectrum, which actually came to Wi-Fi also, is that even if somebody is trying to jam you, you can still communicate. But that is always a situation that is, okay, somebody becomes more sophisticated, you become a little bit better. So it's a war on many fronts, including communication technology.
Okay, then how do you think it is cost affecting? ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ మనం ఇండియాలో చూసుకున్నట్లయితే మనకి ఇప్పుడు ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ సెల్యులర్ డేటా కావచ్చు, మనకు ఒక పార్టన్ కావచ్చు, ఒక కాస్టింగ్ సిస్టమ్ ఉంటుంది. అలాగే మనం ఇఫ్ యూ సీ ఇన్ ద అబ్రాడ్, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఇన్ దుబాయ్, సో దే ఆర్ లిటిల్ బిట్ బ్యాక్వర్డ్ ఐ ఫీల్. ఎందుకంటే వాళ్ళ వైఫై సిస్టమ్స్ కావచ్చు, వాళ్ళ కాస్టింగ్ మెథడ్స్ కావచ్చు చాలా హై ఉన్నాయి. సో వాట్ ఆర్ ద ఫ్యాక్టర్స్ ఫర్ దీస్ థింగ్స్?
That's a very interesting question. India leads the world in low cost communication. It is not that, labor is cheap here. It's nothing to do with labor. It is, first of all, the sheer number of people here, okay, who are there as customers. The number of cell phone connections that is serviced by Jio or Airtel is mind boggling. Okay, when you have more people, the infrastructure can generate revenue from so many more people. The infrastructure cost is the same. If you want to give cell phone coverage in Hyderabad, it will cost so much money. But if you can serve 8 million people rather than half million people, then you can make the pricing that much less. So there are two factors here. One is the large number of customer base, which makes it cheaper on a per person basis. Second, we have been very quick to adopt the technology. Every nook and corner, there was no need for anybody to do any education. Automatically, the cell phone adoption happened, and new generation of cell phone, new applications on cell phone, without any effort, everybody is doing it. So that's special to India, and that's one of the reasons why, okay, the costs are less here.
Great. That's a very great explanation, Venkatesh garu. Aithe the another emerging thing is manaki medical electronics.
Yep.
So give us some more insights about this medical electronics and why we are importing from foreign countries, and how we can build ourselves, and what is the send us some insights
Sure.
about it.
Technology has grown so much, not only in the operating theater, which will look not completely different from the operating theaters of 20 years ago, but every aspect of it. There are some of those things which I want to highlight. One is that monitoring the body parameters, your breathing rate, your blood glucose level, your ECG waveforms, your heart rate, okay, has become so much easier. It is so much easier for people to monitor on their own, so much easier for doctors to get a lot of data. And that is because of what we call as wearable technology. The entire electronic circuit of any of these devices, glucose monitoring or ECG monitoring, has been reduced to a small device which can be kept on the body. It's a battery operated device which will last for, maybe days or even weeks, right? And the device actually measures parameters and is able to communicate wirelessly. That means that instantly it will be talking to your smartphone via Bluetooth, or in some cases via Wi-Fi to your router. So the doctors anywhere can see the data immediately. Okay, it's even come to an extent where the endoscopy which people used to do is following a tube, and so that doctor can see what is inside the stomach. That is replaced now with a capsule. You just follow the capsule. Inside the capsule is a small camera, a small LED light, a small battery, and a small wireless device, all which you can swallow. Then that device actually transmits the data to a device on your arm. From the arm, it goes to your phone or the internet. The doctor can sit anywhere and look at it. And imagine the benefits of getting instant help when something is going wrong. Earlier, okay, initially they used to say that if you are in a rural area and doctor is not nearby, so you need to have remote monitoring. But even if you take a large city like Hyderabad, the hospital or the doctor may be, say, 1.5 kilometers away. If you're at 6 p.m., how much time it takes to go to the doctor. If you're feeling something, it may take half an hour even to go 2 kilometers. So it's so much more efficient and safer to have these monitoring devices at home, which which can call for help. And a lot of things are happening in that area, in the hospital as well as in the home, in the clinics. Okay, there's a huge revolution happening, and technology is coming to the rescue of health.
Okay, let me know about the cost things about these technologies.
Yep. Now, the thing is that semiconductor devices which are there in these are literally made out of silicon, which is coming from a variety of sand. So the raw material cost of electronics is negligible. And that is why electronics keeps getting cheaper and cheaper. However, the effort to design the electronics is very high. The semiconductors are very complex. They have lots of software inside. You have to write, okay, thousands and maybe millions of lines of code which goes into the proper working of a small device. So there's a lot of effort involved in here. But the device itself is cheap because the raw materials are cheap, and it will continue to become cheaper because the same amount of material you're able to put more circuits as the technology progresses. Now the devices are cheap, but then you have to get the cost of all the software, the design, and everything else. So they're coming up with different business models. For example, okay, you can get a kind of a continuous glucose monitoring device, or even your smartphone, which can measure so many parameters, but they have to be linked to your app on the phone. Okay, sometimes, okay, to get some advanced facilities, you have to pay a monthly subscription on the app. So the business models are changing. The hardware itself is not the main cost which is imposed on the user. It is actually the entire service. Okay, the monitoring, giving feedback, giving inputs on what to do. Okay, so there is a slightly different way the business looks at it.
Okay. So nowadays we are using all these electronic devices on our phone, on our like a watch. We're using Apple Watch itself describes your heart rates and everything, right? So I would like to talk about what are the radiations that these electronic devices emit, and how it actually affects the human body.
Yes. Okay. I mean, you're right that all of these gadgets, your phone, your Bluetooth speaker, your cell phone, your watch, all of them radiate.
Earphones.
Okay. So you're having earphones, okay, very close to your brain. All of them radiate. And you know that radiation impacts the body. Okay. I mean, radiation is used for good stuff also. For example, in radiation therapy for cancer treatment, that radiation actually goes and kills the cancer cells. So radiation impacts. But luckily, all this radiation is very, very small, almost negligible. Okay, although it impacts, it's so small that it doesn't have any negative impact on a person, even if worn 24 by 7 through their lifetime. So you cannot actually transmit high power. For example, okay, if you have a cell phone transmitter on top of a building, okay, it's better not to go very close to it. But as your cell phone, which is also transmitting signals, is safe for use next to your ear. Okay. Similarly, there are some other equipment which generate slightly more energy, and that you should not keep next to your skin. Okay, that's like you keep your laptop, you type on your laptop, your Wi-Fi router is there, higher power than your phone in terms of Wi-Fi power. Okay, you keep them a little bit far away. So there is a standard where which specifies it's safe to use against your skin, or it's safe to use on your desk, and so on. So the industry is following that very rigidly, so keeping everybody safe.
Yeah. The reason behind this question is we have seen many internet things that are going on. See, I've seen an incident where the phone just blasts. Because when it is connected to the power, and at the same time the person is speaking on the phone, and at the same time when you continuously work on laptop, having it on your lap for a longer time, it's gonna do a lot of damage for your hormonal things too. So that's where this is like
it happens actually, because when you are charging a phone, you are pumping energy into it. It's like blowing air into a balloon. If you don't stop in time, the balloon will burst. Similarly, there are circuits in the phone which prevent the charging from happening once it is full. Okay, so if that circuit is not functioning properly, the phone can blast. Luckily, it happens one in 100 million devices. Okay, but it cannot, I mean, be completely zero. But it's so they have so carefully designed the circuit so that, okay, even if something fails, something else is there to prevent overcharging from happening. Okay, recently we saw, I mean, a lot of incidents where scooters, while being charged, caught fire. That was more common than cell phones catching fire, partly because the scooters are having higher, bigger batteries, they generate more heat. And the circuits which are there in the cell phone may not be suitable for that kind of a temperature. So, without modifying that circuit, if they use the same, then it has a higher chance of exploding or catching fire. But good quality manufacturers, they actually have modified the circuit, and now you can get good circuits for charging the scooter and so on. So the companies which are coming up now are extra careful.
And we all learned about the latest emerging technology, which is, as you spoke about the electric scooters, and, the future of India, not only India, for the world, is all about electronic cars. So can you give us some insight about these electronic cars?
So the electric cars, or EVs, are very strong. They have a very strong push from so many areas. The government is pushing it. Environmental agencies are pushing it, mainly because the cities are dense, and when a car burns petrol, it burns the petrol not 100%. there is some unburnt petrol, there is carbon dioxide, there is carbon monoxide, okay, which is a byproduct of not burning properly. They are all harmful. Similarly, if the petrol itself is not very pure, it can give other emissions like nitrogen dioxide and so on. So all of these, when you have millions of vehicles inside a city, all the pollution adds up. So if you take electric vehicles, they don't emit anything. They just consume the energy. The only emission is probably some heat, but there is no emission of any of the harmful gases. So for a dense environment like cities, the future will be electric. But what kind of electric, whether it is the lithium cells, whether it's something else, whether it's hydrogen fuel cells, okay, that is still yet not decided. But yes, okay, we cannot have petrol-based emissions forever.
Yes. So are these electric cars safe?
Yes, electric cars are extra safe because a lot of design, lot of work has gone into making them safe. Batteries, just like petrol, store energy. Petrol can catch fire, can explode. We have seen so many cars catching fire. So wherever you store energy, it is possible that energy may leak out very fast. And leaking out very fast is an explosion or a fire. It can happen with electric car or it can happen with petrol. So you have to design it for extra safety. And the electric car companies are working very hard to make it very safe.
A lot of people have this question like when to buy electric cars. I know it just started in the market, but when can you say this is the right time to buy a car? Because they're like too costly than the usual cars are.
Yep. Well, okay. I mean, so from there are two ways to look at it. One is from the government, which wants less pollution in the cities. The one is from a technology point of view. When we think, is this technology mature? Okay, some technology can be very expensive in the early days. As it becomes more mature and more prevalent, it can get cheaper. Is this the best way we can have a battery? Now, unfortunately, battery technology has been progressing little slowly. Okay, so we don't know whether this is the best technology that will come in the near future, the best price point. Okay, I mean, it is certainly you are doing your bit to help the environment by buying an electric car, but we cannot say that this is it. Okay, the next 2-3 years we'll see better technology coming up.
So it still has to get standardized, get settled, and then we can.
Yes, we need to do a lot of things there to make it happen. How many batteries can you manufacture? Where are you getting that the raw materials for the battery from? I mean, India doesn't have too much of that. We have to import a lot of stuff. The import content will go up. Okay, so many factors have to be considered. I think the next 2-3 years or 3-4 years, we will see quite a few changes. But today, if you are environmentally conscious, buy it. Secondly, today battery operated cars, in terms of cost per kilometer, is only about 1/4 of petrol. Okay, so instead of spending 8 rupees per kilometer of petrol, if you want to spend 2 rupees or 1 rupee 50 paisa, go for electric. Okay, if you are driving a lot every day in the city, that extra cost, you will get it back.
Perfect. Sir, you are a member of TIE Hyderabad. So what is TIE Hyderabad? What is TIE?
Well, yeah, the TIE is an organization, it's a worldwide organization which started in the US by Indians living in the US, people from South Asia really. And Hyderabad has a very vibrant chapter. The purpose of TIE is to help entrepreneurs. So the TIE has two kinds of membership. One is the associate member, who are the entrepreneurs, and the other is a charter member, who are industry leaders in different industries. TIE Hyderabad has about 200 charter members in many different areas, in the IT sector, in the construction sector, in medical technology, so many areas. Okay, the industry leaders are there who volunteer their time to mentor startups and entrepreneurs for free. Okay, so startups or entrepreneurs who are working on a problem, working on a solution, they can join TIE as an associate member, very cheap actually, and then they can get access to 200 industry leaders who have agreed to give their time for free to help them. Okay, so I am a charter member, so I try to help entrepreneurs who are doing something in the electronics, IoT, or high technology areas. So I give them, my inputs and insights, and try to, make sure that whatever I have learned the difficult way, whenever you're doing this engineering, you experiment, you find out, and then after doing a lot of trial and error and misses and hits, your knowledge base increases. So instead of them trying to go through that long process, can we pass on our experience to them? So that is what I do, and that is what TIE does. And if there are entrepreneurs out there, okay, TIE provides a great way to get free help with the early stages, which is very important.
So how actually this helps in medical field? Or for example, if a doctor has a requirement of creating a device which can help in her career, like
Yep.
For the hospitals or for the government,
Yep.
so how she can approach you, or
Yeah.
what is the process?
Yes. Okay, so we do have several entrepreneurs who are in the medical technology area. So one of them actually is doing something unique for monitoring the health of newborn babies. Okay, and so we are trying to help her try to get the best kind of device according to what vision she has. So there are multiple factors to this. One is that idea that newborn babies require monitoring of so many parameters, and it should be done in a way which is very adaptable to the baby. Babies are small. Okay, certain things can irritate them. We don't know what they're allergic to. So you have to make things very carefully for them. So we offer help in that area. And then how do you make people adopt it? Okay, it's good to have a technology, but it should be usable. For example, the hospitals must find a need to buy that and then use it on newborn babies. Either because maybe their babies can be healthier, either because the babies can be discharged faster and therefore free up the bed for others, or because certain long-term benefits can be had by doing the right thing right in the beginning. So many stakeholders, okay, doctors, even the government, all of them have to come. All of them have to be shown the benefit of this. So we help the entrepreneurs in reaching out and showing the benefit to everybody. And if they need help from researchers, we get in touch with people in different academic institutions and do it. Okay, so that's going on. There was another startup which was trying to do glucose monitoring without pricking the finger and extracting blood from it. That also involves technology. So they come to us, we try to get them help, get them contacts. So people need to have a nice idea. They need to have the passion that they want to go ahead and do it. And then I can, even if any of the charter members themselves cannot help, they will, from their network, they'll bring help for them.
So Internet of Things is booming all over the world. So can you tell me what is Internet of Things and how is it useful for everyday life?
Yeah. See, when internet started, people were using it. We were using it for sending email, later on for chatting, then having a video call. So that is all people, person to person. But then they thought that, okay, when systems are there, when devices are there, they may also need to send information. Let's say that you are having a sensor in the home which measures the temperature. Okay, you will see the temperature, then you can go and turn a setting to turn the fan on or whatever. So that means that you are getting information from two different devices and then trying to forward data and do something with it. But why? Why can't they directly talk to each other? Why should we be the in between? So Internet of Things is one device talking to another device by themselves, and then you can write software to take action. So this has come so rapidly and everywhere. Okay, that everybody has experienced it. If you're going on a highway, you have this fast tag. So the fast tag, you have a tag in your car which actually is read by an electronic device that immediately sends the data to a server. That server finds out what is the account balance in your fast tag. Okay, and then if the balance is there, then the gate opens, and the whole thing happens within 1 second, right? And then that's just an example of Internet of Things when devices are talking. A person need not take your tag ID and feed it somewhere and then say, okay, now you can go, and he doesn't open it. The person is not needed. The things happen automatically. So Internet of Things is all devices happening. For example, at home, I mean, if you're walking into a room, okay, why do you have to switch on the light? Today there is technology which detects that you have gone into the room and then automatically turns on the light. Okay, it is there in all the offices already. In the home, it's going to become even more sophisticated. It will find out who has walked into the room, not by cameras, but through other means. It will find out who has walked into the room. If I walk in, oh, I like yellow light. Okay, somebody else walks in, he likes a white light. According to the person, the same that light will come. So at home, it's there everywhere. You have smart locks, and the smart locks actually you either give your fingerprint or you enter a code. Let's say your house is locked, and one of your relatives has come to the city. He says, "I want to go home." Then the lock is connected to the internet. You can actually open your app. Then you can create a code, and then you can tell your relative the code. Then he enters the code and walks in, right? So in all of our day-to-day lives, having devices which are connected to each other is becoming a must-have, okay, even for our daily lives.
Mhm. So this is where the authenticity and also the authentication
Yes.
comes into picture.
Yes.
So what happens if there is no power supply for this Internet of Things? So for example, I need to go into a house with my fingerprint on,
Yep.
whereas because of some reasons the fingerprint doesn't work. So the house get locks. So how far these things are reliable?
Yeah. So, the communication network is not always reliable. We always have cell phone outage, we always have internet outage. They are rare, but it can happen. That is why many of these devices have the built-in backup in case the connection fails. Okay, suppose you are using there are some classes of door locks which will recognize your face, and you don't even have to keep your fingerprint. As soon as you walk in, just like in airports, you have the Digi Yatra thing. Okay, it can recognize your face and it can open the door for you. But what if there's no internet connection? They have started doing something called edge intelligence. That means that whatever processing was happening on the internet in some big server can now happen in the device itself. So if the device is programmed with the edge intelligence, even without an internet connection, you can actually do the processing, recognize your face, and open the door. So as you go forward, more and more devices are becoming intelligent by themselves. Okay, for example, you have the CCTV cameras everywhere. Okay, through CCTV cameras, you will know that somebody has come inside the house through a window and not a door. So maybe it's a burglar. In the early days, today we are still in the early days, after the house is burgled, then the police will see the CCTV camera. Oh, at 2:39 a.m. somebody came in through the window. Okay, but that is only effective to some extent. What if it can immediately detect without somebody watching it? Can the system figure out that this is not a correct entry, and then can it raise an alarm? Okay, that means that you're bringing more intelligence. So the early initial implementation of all of this, the camera would send the images on the video to a server sitting somewhere, and then that server will run a lot of processing and figure out that somebody is trying to burgle the house. But what if there's an internet failure? You can't do it. So now the cameras and the system will have edge intelligence, where immediately it will find out that something is wrong and therefore raise an alarm. Okay, have an audio alarm, open the door so that neighbors can come and help, or whatever else you want to do. So systems are getting more sophisticated because of these reasons.
So when we talk about the intelligence, artificial intelligence come into picture, that's the backbone for all these technologies that are coming forward. So tell us more about artificial intelligence and machine learning.
Correct. So all of these things that we have been doing, recognizing a person by their face, recognizing a person from their voice, finding out that somebody has fallen down instead of sitting in a chair, finding out that somebody is trying to attack somebody in the street. Okay, all of these things somehow we could do it. Okay, our brains are pretty good. We can do a lot of things. We can look at it and find out whether the crop is healthy or not healthy. But we were not able to write the software for exactly behaving like our brain. Okay, so software, you will have to say, if this is like this, then this may be, then if, then else. That is the structure of software. but that was not enough to do all the sophisticated things. So the machine learning and AI came in, where you can take a kind of a network, they call it a neural network. You can train it like the way you have trained your brain, that you finally figure out, okay, this is good, this is not good, this is a cat, this is a dog. So just the way we have learned over many years of watching and observing or listening, they are trying to create software programs which will also learn like that. And that, in essence, is AI. And it's helping us do a lot of things which was very difficult before in terms of programming. Now we are doing a lot of things. So initially, the initial versions of AI, if you give an image to it, it'll tell whether it's a cat or a dog. Okay. Now the AI has become different. It'll say, you can say, generate an image of a cat, and then the chat gpt and gen AI will actually generate, it'll do the reverse. Okay, earlier we could feed it a paragraph and say, okay, what is this about? It would actually try to say that these are the main highlights of the paragraph. Now you can give highlights and ask it to write a proper paragraph, it'll do that. So AI is constantly evolving. There are many benefits. For example, okay, if you want to monitor somebody at home, maybe an elderly person, that person, whether, today, elderly people require a lot of attention.
True.
In the US, of course, people don't stay in joint families. Even an 80-year-old couple will stay on their own, but they may sometimes fall, they may have medical issues. So there's a lot of gadgetry around finding out whether they need help or not. Unfortunately, there's a situation in India also now. A lot of old people are living on their own. So if you want to find if somebody has fallen down, should you keep a CCTV camera, and should it actually analyze? That's actually intrusion of their privacy. So can you have a device which does not record any video, but can still do all of this? So technology is progressing to make it more acceptable in many ways, and all of these are progressions of AI. And one of the important things here is authentication. Is it the right device? Okay, even a simple thing like if you are walking up to your door and you are using a remote control to open your door, but your neighbor should not use his remote control and open your door.
Right.
Okay, hackers, normally he won't do it because the codes are different. But if he's a hacker,
Yeah.
he can see what signals you're transmitting, he can record it, and then he can replay it. Okay, so it is possible for a sophisticated hacker to open your door, but how do you prevent that? So there is a lot of technology in identifying a device. Just like a human has a fingerprint or a retina scan which is unique, devices are also coming up with a unique fingerprint. Even if they make 10,000 door locks, each door lock will have a unique fingerprint using which you can identify that. So the authenticity of devices is extremely important, and a lot of technology is going into it.
So on the positive note, on one side, it is giving a lot of knowledge to common people. Whereas I open Chat GPT and I ask it, what are the companies that I can invest, or what are the best, bankers that I can go and, protect myself. And, it gives a lot of information, which is very good. At the same time, is it really grabbing, a lot of jobs for many people and leaving the people who created AI into poor?
Well, this question has been there for a very long time. When machines came in, instead of people doing things by hand, okay, making rice flour by hand, and then the rice mills came, the same question was asked. When electricity came, okay, instead of human power or horsepower, electricity could do so much more. So are humans losing the job? Then came, the computers with the software, okay, do a lot of things. Okay, then if my Excel spreadsheet can compute or calculate all my taxes and all my revenue things in a fraction of a second, why should I, employ an accountant to do it? He may take 1 week to do it.
True.
Okay, in fact, early days, there used to be a human being called a computer whose job was to add and subtract. Okay, so the senior officials will give him, so these are all the numbers, you please find a sum and give it. That is before the days of even the calculator. So now when you are having AI, the same question was, but none of these impacted jobs. Some of the jobs went away, but a lot more jobs have come in. Through the history of technology, there's never been a case where because of a new technology, there has been fewer jobs. Jobs have always been rising. And now actually, if a student has studied AI or ML, for him, job is more guaranteed than not studying AI ML. Okay, some kind of jobs will go away, some other kind of jobs will come. People have to be adaptive or able to change.
Smarter enough to choose
People
which
have to
way
be
to
smarter.
go.
People have to learn what is needed, and then if they learn what is needed, there's always a job for them.
So as we were talking about some hackers, so there is a lot of things that are going in the market. For example, the recent HD in the HDFC Bank, a lot of people in Chennai got crores of rupees in their accounts. So how can we avoid this phishing techniques? How can we protect ourselves by these electronic hackers?
Yeah. So there are two areas in which these are happening. There are some set of hackers which are directly working at breaking the codes which are used, and so the codes are getting stronger. What could be hacked earlier, okay, after some 1 month or 2 months of computing, with better and faster computers, they can be hacked in about a few hours or so. So the codes are getting stronger. The encryption is getting stronger. That is people trying to attack a machine or people writing a software which attacks another software. Okay, that is one part of it. That is becoming more and more difficult because the software protection is also growing very fast. So what the hackers have started doing is that they have started, what is the weak link in any system? It is a person. The person who is using something, he knows the password.
Yeah.
Okay, instead of trying to find out the password, can you somehow make him tell you the password? Okay, so they started attacking the people, and for attacking people, it's psychological. How do you, try to convince them? How do you try to tell them that you are very trustworthy and they can share it with you? So when people are trying to work on psychology of others, we have to use psychology to prevent it. So, the government and everybody else is trying to keep on publishing a list of do's and don'ts. This is the care you must take. Okay, don't believe this, do this, or you set up a safety mechanism like a two-factor authentication, which started many years ago. So even if somebody has your bank password, they cannot take money because a SMS will come to you. Physically, you must have the phone with you because that SMS cannot be redirected anywhere else. So techniques are improving to do that. But at the same time, if somebody is using technology, they have to be aware of what the technology can do and what it cannot do. Okay, it goes against the core of technology being user friendly to a large extent. So anybody not knowing immediately should use it. However, okay, for safety's sake, if they know a little bit about it, it's better.
So, is it safe to keep a lot of information in your phone? Is another question. Many of us have this question because we all save passwords in the phone, be it bank accounts or anything personal. So, is it safer?
Well, no, yeah. So there are some phones which are quite safe. In the some phones, okay, which can be erased very easily. Okay, but in the end, it's how safe you keep the systems. You have the facilities there. You use only your fingerprint to unlock the phone. You can keep a more sophisticated number and not guessable from date of birth or something. Okay, so all of those safety precautions can be taken. And there are other software also which are coming up, which will not reveal all your passwords. Okay, but it'll come only when you enter your fingerprint. Okay, so suppose, okay, a phone is kept unlocked. Can somebody open it and read all your passwords? No. Now the systems don't allow people to do that. Okay, so in general, the only safe password is the one that exists only on your brain, nowhere else. Okay, so that's the safest. But short of that, the technology is keeping on getting updated, and you can always, search online for how do I protect myself. You'll get a lot of good tips. Okay, but you have to marry convenience with safety. Okay, you cannot, remember 1,000. They say that you should not keep the same password for two different websites. How many passwords can we remember? Right? So there is a balance between ease, convenience, and safety. So we have to keep, keeping that balance all the time.
So when we talk about the servers and also semiconductors, so from almost like from the past 10 years, so the world is booming up with this Bitcoin mining and you know how semiconductors are used in this mining, you know, how we can see this mining.
Yep. So actually, it's a Bitcoin and see, you know, the concept of money. Money is printed only by the government.
True.
And they print enough money based on certain reserves. It's either against gold or some other parameters. So they are very careful about how much money is generated. So in Bitcoins, they are trying to generate money. They are trying to generate money by creating some random sequence of numbers. Now, what will happen if they can just freely keep on generating? Then that money will become so common, it will lose its value. So the people who created Bitcoin made it more and more difficult to create new money. That is, that the amount of computing that you have to do became exponentially increasing, doubling every day, doubling every week. If you want to do more work, then you need more computers working for a longer time. So semiconductor chips are getting faster and faster. The structure of the computers is changing so that you can actually do thousands of times faster work than before. So all of that is enabling new bitcoins to be generated, but it is not sustainable. It's not legal, and I would say, in my opinion, that bitcoins are not really a useful technology. They are a technology that does more harm than good.
Okay. Is AI involved in this development?
Well, not exactly AI, okay, but there are, security mechanisms like a blockchain, okay, which are also equally complicated, but I wouldn't say that they are AI.
So we saw this Microsoft glitch recent times, and all the world stopped at one time. No Gmail worked, and you know nothing worked in the internet. So can we expect these more in the future?
Well, we certainly shouldn't expect it. I mean, that was a pretty silly thing that happened. You know, the software that actually malfunctioned was supposed to prevent a lot of cybersecurity attacks. It was supposed to prevent all of those people trying to hack into systems and stop your system, and it has been doing that. Okay, we have been kept safe because of software like the one that got impacted recently. And you know, whenever you're upgrading a new version of a software, there are so many checks that happen. So, but unfortunately, this was beyond that. It was whenever there is a new cybersecurity threat which is detected, then all systems are immediately informed that this is there. So be careful about this. So that information has to come immediately. You may decide to, you know, upgrade your firmware or software in your computer next week, but by next week, okay, that problem may come and, you know, can destroy your software, your entire PC.
True.
So immediately everybody should know that this threat somebody has created, and you must protect yourself. Now, why in the process of informing everyone that something new has come and you should take care of it, that description, there was an error in it. And systems were ready to access that because it is coming from a trusted source, somebody whom we know we can accept data from. So it came in from that, and unfortunately, it did not get tested well enough. And without getting tested, it came into billions of computers, and all of them crashed that day. Okay, I mean, hopefully, this should not happen again for a very long time. Okay, we can never say that glitches will never occur, but every time something happens, people learn from it.
All right. So, say for example, in the next 5 years, so what is the position of India? Like, what are the new technologies that India is going to get?
India is actually growing extremely fast in adoption of technology. Okay. I mean, not only in the home getting smarter, in hospitals getting smarter, in roads and smart cities coming up, automatic pollution monitoring and everything else. Even factories are getting heavily automated. Factories, okay, where, you know, safety is very important, are getting sophisticated methods of identifying, okay, what is safe, what is not safe. Every aspect of India, you know, India has taken the lead in so many things. Okay, the concept of Aadhaar, the concept of your Digi Yatra, the concept of having the UPI, okay, which is unique in the world, okay, has all come from here. and it's getting adopted tremendously. Unfortunately, we are still users of technology. We are not building the electronics for it. We are not building enough. Okay, countries like China, because of the low-cost labor, have many of the American and other Western companies invested in China a long time back to set up manufacturing. So China has used that as a base and started developing its own systems now. So we are about 10, 15 years behind China in all of that. The next 5 years, India will continue to import electronics. However much the government is trying to, help people set up electronic industries, people will set up, a lot of electronics will get manufactured, but 5 years is not enough to catch up. Our demand will continue to grow. Everybody will want new cell phones every 1.5 years. They want all kinds of gadgets and everything. The demand will continue to grow. It will take longer than that to be self-sufficient. But hopefully, with all the right policies and all the right practices and the right vision, it will happen.
So if we see in the market, if we want a phone or if we want a connector, for example, if I need a card reader for my phone or something else, so I get a very cheaper product from China, which is, somewhat durable, I cannot expect it to be for lifetime, but it is durable. But why can't we make the same product in India?
We can actually. So you know that whenever you make a product now, you cannot make it more expensive than a Chinese product, because then people buy the Chinese product. India, okay, even if there is some small amount of import duty, still we have to be competitive. So the engineers in India, the companies which are designing new electronics in India, are taking that into account and designing products which are cheaper and but reliable and effective for the user, okay, so that you can actually get people to buy it. So all of these are important. You cannot make a product which is twice the cost of an imported product. The world is open now. If they are buying components from somewhere, you have to buy components. If they are getting it cheaper because they are buying in bulk, we have to buy in bulk.
True.
So we need to expand our market. So companies which are getting created here for making electronics in India are all aware of it. It's very difficult, but luckily India has a good market. So if they make a good product, okay, it will be sold in very large numbers here.
We are also manufacturing iPhone now in India, but whereas when we see the prices, they're still hiking.
Yes.
I mean, they're still the same.
Yes.
What do you say about this?
Well, the pricing, there's a lot of factors involved. Okay? I mean, Apple's pricing is largely based on demand. Okay, I mean, there's so much demand for iPhones that on the day a new phone is announced, I mean, tens of millions of phones get sold. Even in India, people queue up to buy it. As long as there is demand, okay, I mean, there's no reason to drop the price, right? So there is a supply and demand scenario. Secondly, the components used in a phone are common, whether you're building it in China or Singapore or India. Same components you can buy for the same price wherever. The assembly costs may also be similar. The investments are very similar. So it's very difficult to get a huge price advantage. But if the market is here and you're making here, then the tariffs, the transportation, everything else will become less. And therefore, a phone manufactured in India can be slightly less costly than a phone manufactured in China. Not a big difference, but definitely the value of that particular phone, if you are paying 70,000 rupees, how much of that is getting consumed within India? Apple takes a lot of that money.
True.
But if they are employing some workers in the factory here, they are getting part of it. Out of your 70,000, you can be rest assured that some money goes to people in India. Okay, so that's the important reason of value addition, where if you make things here, the wealth get distributed more equitably within the country rather than going out.
So thank you so much. You have shared a lot of insights for us regarding this electronics and the gadgets that we need to improve, how India should improve itself. And finally, so for the audience, so what is the message that you can give, whether it's for the students or for the elderly people? It might be regarding the awareness, how to use the gadgets, and being safe by using these products. What is the message that you would like to give?
The message is that, I mean, you cannot, technology is here to stay. Okay, let technology become your friend and help you. find out how. For students, I mean, there's no place like India. The whole world is looking at India as the place where the economic growth is going to be highest in the next few years. So there is no reason to look elsewhere than our country for contributing and growing and becoming rich and becoming, getting a lot of satisfaction. So this is where all the action is.
That's a very great message by you, because a lot of students are trying to get out of India and work somewhere else, do something else. But I'm really pleased by your answer to stay back in India and prove yourself what you are, and you can make good stuffs, and getting into this entrepreneurship. So you welcome a lot of entrepreneurs there.
Yes, entrepreneurship is a thrust for us, because we need people with energy, we need people with ideas, we need people with a drive to make an idea a reality. And all of us here, at least from the TIE and other organizations, we're all ready to help entrepreneurs in every way. Entrepreneurs are how new industry is built, and very happy to have so much help from the government, not only in Telangana but also India-wide, to help entrepreneurs. And there's no better time to be an entrepreneur than now.
That's a very good news, and thank you for your support, sir, and for your mentorship regarding this entrepreneurship. And thank you so much for being here. That's all about the interview, and that's all about Venkatesh Garu. And see you next time in another episode. And this is Amulya signing off.